Okay, so welcome back everyone to the Starknet All Core Dev Call 31. We are at an exciting inflection point today, which is exactly 8 days since our 0.14.0 testnet went live, and almost like 11 days away from our planned mainnet deployment. So this is essentially our final checkpoint before one of the most significant upgrades in Starknet's ecosystem. And the next call would obviously be after the mainnet deployment. So quick logistics before we get started with the call. The recording is live on our YouTube archive. Please stay muted when you're not speaking. And we have got a focused agenda with some critical decisions to make. And I would really like if all of you can turn on your cameras. It just feels more lively. And then, so today's mission is that we need to assess where we stand after a week of real world testnet usage and address any blockers and make a final call on our July 28th mainnet timeline. So let's see what the call is about today. So first, I would like to start with the client teams. And since you all have been running the testnet over a week now, so you probably have the best sense of how things are actually working right now. So we'll start with Pathfinder, Christian. Christian, you mentioned that last time the release for 0.17 Pathfinder is released. So I believe it's running on testnet for over a week now. So I would love to hear about the database migration outcomes and how we are preparing for mainnet upgrades. And after you are done talking about this, I would also want to discuss about a question that you raised in the Slack channel about pre-confirmed block bug. And so, how has the investigation been, and what is the current resolution status for that?
Okay, so um, we've since last week we have released Pathfinder 0.18 as well, which is essentially a bug fix release over Pathfinder 0.17, but it includes an additional database migration that makes it technically incompatible with the old version. We haven't really heard uh, about problems with the database migration. We already know, and we included this in the release notes, that on mainnet, the migration takes about an hour to perform. Multiple users have confirmed this, but ultimately the migration is or was successful, and we haven't really heard about issues with that. There was one surprising change, which is a breaking change, which was causing some problems for node operators, is that on Pathfinder 0.17, the WebSocket API is disabled unless you explicitly enable it via a command line option. We have since included this both in the staking documentation and the Pathfinder documentation. But just as a heads up, anyone who's having issues with the WebSockets API after upgrading Pathfinder to 0.17 or 0.18, you should just enable the WebSockets interface and it should continue working fine.
Okay. And where
Regarding
do
the
we
yep.
stand on the JSON RPC 0.9 completion and production readiness? I mean,
So
or you were talking about the pre-confirmed blocks. If you want to do that, we can do that first.
yeah, so uh, we are still discussing the how to handle pre-confirmed data for JSON RPC subscription methods. Other than that, pre-confirmed blocks shouldn't really be a problem. I mean, the rest of the JSON RPC API, I mean, all the methods except the subscription methods should just work fine. And discussion is still underway on how exactly we would like to handle pre-confirmed data in general in subscriptions. So this is one particular area that we haven't implemented yet for Pathfinder. This is definitely that will be handling with priority in the next weeks once we agree on a plan on how to handle this in the JSON RPC subscription API.
Okay. Okay. So thank you for the updates, Christian. And we can move on to Rodrigo for Juno. So, Rodrigo, I remember that we had some targets for mid-late July. So, how did that go till now? And I'm also curious to know about the tournament MVP completion status and how is the O15 RC is performing on the testnet. Uh, yeah. And the same question again, like how are things with pre-confirmed block issues, or if this is an implementation specific problem?
Okay, so for target for the end of July was having Tendermint implemented. I wouldn't call it an MVP because I think it's a bit more. It's it goes a bit far and beyond, right? And on that we're good. We have internal testing based on the one Starknet tool for testing sequencers, which is Gomu Gomu no Gatling, and we are testing. It's a bit outdated, so we implemented our own, and then we run tests. We established 4 Juno nodes. We started transactions. They're doing consensus. They're producing blocks. So it's fairly complete. The things we're missing, well, first is to all the Tendermint. There are still things which are not established in Tendermint. For example, voting power. So those are things that will come later, and we will get as they come. I know that there is a thing I know which can be an issue at some point, which is P2P syncing. I think right now all nodes are using different specs. I believe, for example, Pathfinder is using 0.1, which is the latest stable release, and we Uno are using another release. We're using one older commit. So I was hoping like maybe Stackware at some point could make like a 0.2 release, so we can all move there, which matches also with the consensus stuff at some point if they get it there. And the last thing is mempool decentralization. The specs are a bit outdated too, so once we agree on those, we also implement those. But otherwise, I think, yeah. Regarding, we have,
How is the Juno Malachite
yeah.
interoperability test?
So the Uno Malachi become all the nodes test, all the nodes. So there was like Fun team, Adara team. I think there was no Stagware team representation, but hopefully we can have another one. We discussed that with Leo, having like it was just 30 minutes. So hopefully we can have a longer one of an hour and a half, and we can get everyone there so we can talk about it. But I think it was very good, very good. Regarding Malachite specific testing, we might not go that way because I think Pathfinder and Christian, correct me if I'm wrong, you're already like close to it. So at some point during this month or the next, we can test Malachite through you. So I mean Juno and Pathfinder and Madara and Stackware, we can try all those things hopefully. But yeah, first we have to fix Juno with Juno, like make Juno with Juno with, and I think everyone has to do their own with their own, and then we go for the next because I'm pretty sure there's gonna be some issues in communication there. Yeah. Regarding O15 in the sense of we have to know O15 RC, which is to talk with Starknet mainnet. Yeah, we have been finding some small issues. We have been fixing them. So far, there's RC4, which is returned, which we released just today, which is very good. We are aiming for a full stable release later this week or beginning of the next week. Yeah, so far, like no, as soon as we're finding some issues there, we're still fixing them. So as soon as there's no longer any more issues, we go with the full release.
Okay, okay. Shahak, you wanted to say something?
Yes, just about the peer-to-peer specs. I think that consensus should be more of our main focus rather than peer-to-peer sync, because then O15 will need to have a consensus, and sync will be, I think, a version or a few after. And I hope that we'll release like a version of consensus soon. I think right now it misses some things like the votes themselves, the signatures of the votes, but we'll release a version of partial features, and then we can all work with that version. And then after everyone implements like signatures and stuff like that, then we can add it to and create a new version. So hopefully that will be available soon.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Rodrigo. And we can move on to Trantorian. So, Trantorian, now that everyone is back, I assume, from Cannes, I would like to hear about the team coordination and where the team is on 0.14.0 sync support implementation and the final status for Cairo native and Blockifier integration.
Yep. So work has resumed as usual post ETHCC. Everything is back as it used to be now. In regard to 0.14.0 sync, we are a bit behind schedule for testnet. It's currently in the works with some delays due to database updates for the pre-confirmed block. We've already published a quick fix in regards to the gateway, which allows for the sync of pre-0.14.0 blocks so far, but at least for testnet, 0.14.0 sync is not yet available. In regards to Blockifier and Cairo native, this has been merged into Madara and is now fully supported and available. One last update regarding 0.14.0 is the update of L2 gas, which has also been merged. And that is the status as of now.
Thank you, Antonian. So we can move on to the next point on agenda, which is 0.14.0 testnet assessment and the timeline for mainnet. So here we have Leo. So this is a moment we all want to know about. So how's the testnet looking after a full week? And if you can tell us more about the overall network performance and stability and uh, get us understanding like the technical context around the pre-confirmed block state validation and learn more about the infrastructure migration from centralized to decentralized gateway and how it's impacting everyone.
Sure. So the upgrade from 13.6 to 0.14 on testnet went remarkably smooth, so that's great. The environment is mostly stable. There are bug fixes on our end that are ongoing and will be ongoing in the next couple of days as well. But mostly the situation is looking good, to be honest. Regarding external readiness, I think the vast majority of integrations and ecosystem is already sending transactions with RPC 0.8 as they should. I think there are still, this is on their latest version. So the question is about users that use a previous version of whatever software they're using. This is an ongoing effort of communication, basically, that will continue to be done until the mainnet upgrade and after. About the pre-confirmations, so I'm not sure what exactly you would like to know, but basically the status of pre-confirmation is pretty early feedback by the block builder about the transactions that are gonna be included in his proposal. And important to say that this is after execution. So you get back the receipt, the events, and the side effects of the transaction. So this change appears in RPC 0.9, which means that if you want to consume this data, you need to be on RPC 0.9. This is particularly important for wallets, which are in the process of integrating with that. Regarding the timeline, I think that the upgrade will probably be delayed because of both externals but also internals readiness. We also want to run some stress testing there. We haven't still finalized the date, but I expect it to be either today or early next week. And I think that the order of magnitude is 1 week or 2 weeks. That's pretty much what's on the plate, I think. Yeah, I think that's it for 014.
Okay. I mean, when I mentioned about the pre-confirmed blocks, I wanted to ask about the state validation issue that was occurring with deploy account transactions. Like since people were discussing it on Slack, so I just wanted to know your thoughts, and you already answered it that wallets are trying to put that into like the main system. Yeah, so that is that.
Yes, they
Yeah.
are.
Mhm.
I don't know, I maybe missed the discussion. I don't know precisely what you're referring to, but
Okay.
at least at the moment, I'm not aware of any issue with the pre-confirmed
Mhm.
block.
Okay, no worries. Okay. So we can move on to the next point on agenda, which is infrastructure migration and P2P updates, which will be from Shahak. So Shahak, you've been handling some pretty significant infrastructural changes. So can you walk us through the DNS infrastructure transition for Alpha Sepolia and the timeline for service scaling?
Okay, so regarding DNS, the changes already happened. What basically went down is that when we did the upgrade, we changed the DNS to point to a different IP, the DNS of the gateway, and we in the old IP we kept a service that routes traffic into the new IP. And a few days ago we scaled down this service. We assume by now that no users have any DNS cache with the old IP, and so we don't need to reroute them to the new IP.
Okay. And what about the P2P specification enhancements with the pre-send feature? And
So
yeah.
the present feature, I think I already talked about it last time, but I'll remind again. So the proposer sends the transactions before the proposer has executed them. And this allows the proposer and the validator to execute them both at the same time. And what we need to change in the specs for that is that at the end of the proposal, the proposer might have executed too many transactions, and the proposer only discovers it after finishing the execution. So the proposer can, at the end, say like the last 3 transactions are not going to make it into this block, and I want to remove them.
Okay. And I also wanted to highlight the O15 P2P update for decentralized validation with authentication mechanism.
Yes.
And like
So
also, yeah. So what coordination do you need from like any of the teams for or anyone for smooth service transitions?
So I just want to like present what's going to be on O15. Guy.
So hi, I'm Guy. This is my first time in the meeting. We're going to give you a high-level overview, and more details will follow. But in general, to give you a heads up, we're going to be limiting the nodes who can connect to the consensus network, limiting it to stakers only. And as part of that, we're going to be verifying that you're a staker. And the way we're going to do that is as part of the security upgrade that happens in P2P lib, either with noise or TLS. What we're going to do is once that has been established and both sides have proved to each other their P2P identities, we're going to do an extra handshake step where each side sends their Stark ID, their public key, and a challenge. And the other side needs to prove that they are the owner of this Stark identity by, by signing the challenge and the libp2p identity. So we're creating essentially tying the peer-to-peer identity with the Stark identity. That way we can tell that you are a staker, because that information is available on the staking contract. And we're going to make sure that we only allow one connection per staker. So if you connect with multiple peer IDs with the same Stark ID, we will disconnect it. We will just keep the latest one, because there's no legitimate reason for you to be connected multiple times.
But we do want to allow you to replace your PRD if like the PRD key was stolen or the node you want to change for any reason.
Yeah. So protocol buffers and like officially the whole protocol and the protocol buffers are going to be coming soon. We just wanted to give you a heads up about that. The sync network is going to stay inactive for 0.15, and the mempool network is going to remain closed for 0.15.
No, we're not sure yet about the mempool. We're debating about it.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's it for high level.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Shahak. Thank you, Guy. And we can move on to the next point on agenda, which is consensus implementation progress. So, Adi, you had that coordination meeting with Juno, I believe, on July 7th. So, how did that go? And we are interested in learning the concrete next steps that were established and the realistic timeline for meaningful interoperability testing and any technical documentation or integration requirements that other teams should be aware of.
Yep. Regarding the meeting with the Juno team, I think Rodrigo covered most of it, but I will go into to reiterate what he said and also emphasize parts of what Shahak mentioned earlier regarding P2P and specs testing. I do agree that there's a necessity to test both the execution and consensus independently. So I think what we're going to end up doing, and it seems like all teams are on board with this. I just need to discuss with Pathfinder team, which will happen today, to confirm this. So we may find it helpful to distinguish between two sets of interoperability tests. One of them is consensus level and P2P, and the other one is execution level and full stack. Basically, block building that includes digital signature check, that includes the whole shebang that exists at the execution layer. It is only the full nodes team that can do this second kind of testing, and it falls within the responsibility of the Malachite team and Juno team if they want to test the consensus and P2P. Theoretically, the second set of tests, the execution test, should cover the first set of tests, but there's also a reason for us to have the first set of tests, consensus P2P, within Malachite, so that we do not introduce unwillingly changes. So even if Pathfinder or Mother or other teams building on Malachite, even if they do execution level or full stack level testing, that they can collaborate, that they can build blocks together, even if they do that, we should still do consensus and P2P testing within Malachite so that we don't introduce kind of breaking changes unwillingly before doing releases and before the full nodes team test themselves. So I think we can distinguish between full stack or execution interoperability testing and consensus interop testing. And the Malachite team will focus on the consensus and P2P level testing. So I think this is what Rodrigo mentioned earlier. It seems like Shahak is also on board with that. I touched a bit on this with Leo in our chat last week and Eitan, and I think there's some kind of let's say convergence from their side as well. Like I said, I only need to discuss this in more depth with the Pathfinder team and see how do we split the responsibilities. And if they're on board with this plan, then I could give an update also on a small technical release we did for Pathfinder. We released for Malachite, we released 0.40 last week. It includes block sync changes. These are not relevant for Starknet sequencer, but just to show that block sync is not something obvious. We did like 3 iterations of the design for the block sync protocol, and 0.40 includes one of the latest iteration on that. It includes support for parallel block syncing, and we're doing one more iteration of improvement there, which is batching in block sync. So it's by no means a very simple protocol. And again, it's not relevant for Starknet teams, but just to keep you in the loop. because you will use the blockchain protocol at the execution layer, not at consensus layer. Yeah, regarding documentation and anything else, we are going to wait on feedback from the Pathfinder team to figure out what is it that we can write in terms of documentation, or what is it that we can refine in terms of API. We have not identified anything specifically kind of proactively on our own that we need to change, so not many other updates to flag here. And I want to also introduce Yasmina from Informal. She joined the call today. She's onboarding as a lead on the Malachi team, and she may she will likely continue joining these calls, and she may also be in future calls with some of you, as you will see. Yes.
Hey, Andy, thanks for the intro and really interesting discussion, guys. I'm happy to be here. A lot of material to digest, but I'll try to catch up fast.
Okay. Welcome, Jasmina, and thank you, everyone. So before we close, I believe we have finished our agenda for today, but before we close the call, is there any other thing that anyone of us would want to discuss before we wrap everything up? Okay, I guess so. We meet in our next call, which is on July 31st. By then, we'll either be uh, we might be celebrating the mainnet deployment, or because of the delay, let's see what happens. So thanks everyone for the critical work that every one of you is doing, and see you all in 2 weeks from now.
Cheers, bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.